Morning, Ainsley. Good morning, guys. So far, the numbers we have show 54 people were shot, 7 fatally. It usually takes a few hours for Chicago police to release the official numbers from the holiday weekend. But you compare those numbers to the 4th of July weekend, in which 44 people were shot, 6 were killed.
We have been the ones calling for President Trump's help. The streets are not safe. We can't even walk out the streets without knowing that it's a chance we're not going to make it and see our loved ones to come back home.
This is the dynamic that Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says is not an emergency that warrants the intervention of federal troopers and the National Guard. In fact, Governor Pritzker launched over the weekend the conspiracy theory that Trump is using crime in Chicago to cheat the midterm elections.
Other aims are that he'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections. He'll just claim that there's some problem with an election, and then he's got troops on the ground that can take control, if in fact he's allowed to do this.
Donald Trump is not focused on public safety. Look, anytime that there's crime anywhere in our state or around the country, we want to continue to see progress being made, and we are making progress here in Illinois and in the city of Chicago.
Also over the weekend, Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson led groups chanting no federal troops in Chicago. And in a move critics dismiss as clearly political, Chicago's mayor signed an executive order banning law enforcement from wearing face masks. And he said that Chicago police will not play a supporting role to their federal counterparts.
But this is not about public safety, and this is not about making our residents safer. What Donald Trump wants to happen is he wants to manufacture a crisis. He's going to, as we just talked about, there's going to be a surge of ICE enforcement efforts. He knows that people will see those efforts and then want to speak out. People, good, decent people, will be heartbroken to see their neighbors being snatched off the streets and stuffed into unmarked cars. He wants to inflame tensions, and he wants to make sure that that he can cause some sort of crisis that he can say that he's coming to the rescue. And what we know is that we are going to follow the law here in Illinois. We are going to do everything we can to protect our residents, and we're not going to allow this president who wants to manufacture a crisis, who wants to, quite frankly, make the military presence on American soil something that people normalize. We are going to speak out. We are going to be prepared to do everything we can to protect the residents of our state.
The ongoing crime and violence in many of these cities, places such as Baltimore, Chicago, Los Angeles, and most notably Chicago, just because of the governor and the mayor who had this press conference yesterday talking about we don't need help taking care of crime in our city, even though they had 50 people who were shot over the weekend and 8 of those people died. They don't have a gun problem, apparently. They don't have a crime problem in Chicago. I guess that's just the normal base of what crime is in Chicago. Anyway, President Trump has said he's had enough, and he is planning on going ahead and helping out Chicago by ensuring that they have the resource needed in order to help combat some of this stuff by setting in some federal agencies in order to go in there and help them.
Guys, there is a thin cloud of confusion between what is right and what is wrong in this situation concerning Chicago. Well, previously, Donald Trump has been insisting on moving to Chicago and also Illinois in order to restore law and order and also to make the streets safer. But also, he's been receiving a lot of backlash saying that people don't understand the reason why he's bringing troops to the ground to help, yet the police can handle this work. And also, crime rates have been reducing significantly in these cities. Also, just because Chicago, Illinois are some of these blue states, this move can be political or can be politically motivated. And why is he not also moving into states like, let's say, Tennessee, which is a red state, which has more crime rate than Chicago or Illinois or even Ohio? Ohio? Well, Ohio, I don't know about that, but Chicago and Illinois. So that's according to statistics. But yes, after those rumors happened, Trump goes missing and things seem to have died down. It happens that over the weekend, 50 people were being shot at and apparently 8 people passed on and others are in a critical condition. And you'd wonder, does Chicago really need the military troop to clean the street? Is Chicago really safe as the statistics say that the crime rate is lowering? Or is it just a fabrication of numbers? So there is a lot of that confusion, and then that's what we're gonna talk about today. Hey guys, my name is Danny. Welcome back to my show. It's been days, I've been missing. Today we're talking about the Trump move to Chicago and Illinois and how he wants to bring troops to those areas to clean up crime rates. Well, according to Trump, he feels like these areas are not safe and he needs his intervention in order to restore peace, unity, and also order in the city. Well, what are the people of Chicago saying? Well, to the MAGA supporters who live there, they're calling upon Donald Trump to bring in troops. To the Dems or progressives, they feel like this is an outreach and they feel like this is an abuse of power and they do not need troops in the streets, especially after the witness in LA and also how the court determined him using the military wasn't called for. So it's just a back and forth of opinions. Before I even issue my unsolicited commentary, I want us to listen to more opinions and then thereafter we're going to come back and deal with this matter squarely, or rather say perpendicularly. Let's go.
We have more breaking news. Donald Trump announced today that he will be deploying troops to Chicago and Baltimore, both Democrat majority cities, and his justification for this is to address crime, which is really interesting because both cities have said that they don't need federal troops. In fact, troops would interfere with their own police departments who are handling crime just fine. It's notable that while Donald Trump is targeting Democrat-led cities, Republican majority cities have higher rates of crime. Memphis, Tennessee, for example, has a higher crime rate than both Chicago and Baltimore, yet no troops are being deployed there. Which also raises more concerns as today a federal judge ruled that Trump's use of troops in Los Angeles was illegal and unconstitutional. So he's continuing to do the same illegal thing over and over again. And I'm going to take a big step back. If you think for one moment that this is about crime fighting or even immigration, you are being lied to. You are being fooled. This is just him flexing those dictatorial ambitions because we know he admires military-style dictators and that's the kind of presidency he wants. Because in his feeble old mind, he perceives the president as sort of America's king. And that's not how that works, but that's his limited understanding of the world around him. So there will be legal challenges and we'll stay posted for that.
Okay, I don't know if any of you are catching Pritzker's news conference about Trump trying to occupy the city. I'm not sure who the guy is who's talking, but he just slammed the Trump administration in ways that is just over the top and beautiful. He's like, hey, if we say we have a gun problem, well, the guns are coming from red states, like Indiana. It's like, if we have a problem with guns, then you need to rein in the guns in the red states because that's how those guns are getting to Chicago. They're coming from red states. Just like the guns in Texas, well, those are coming from Mexico. The Mexico cartels, they're getting their guns from Texas. So what I think happened to Trump was I think Trump got a stent in his heart for that right-sided heart block. And I think that he has been recovering from that ever since. So now we get to hear him continue to run his mouth. But you know what? When tyranny becomes law, resistance becomes duty, you know.
Okay, so Trump is in his press conference right now, and it was about Space Force and moving it to Huntsville. But he was asked about Chicago. Are you sending the National Guard in? What are you doing with that? So then Trump proceeds to give the crime stats for Chicago. And he said over the last 3 weeks, there have been at least 20 people who have lost their lives in Chicago in 3 weeks' time. He said, oh, I'm definitely sending the National Guard into Chicago. I just haven't said when yet. So I wonder when it will be, what it will take. Will he send them in when ICE goes in? So I just did a video about that. Very high likelihood ICE is going in this week. But the governor is getting the citizens all riled up with his speeches and asking them if the National Guard comes in, will they go after them? He is literally encouraging the general public to attack the National Guard agents if they come in to try to protect the city. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'm not a law professor, I don't have all these massive degrees. So someone with those things that's much smarter than I am, please explain to me why lowering the crime in Chicago is a bad thing. Don't talk to me about how it's being lowered. Talk to me about the actual lowering of crime in Chicago and why that is being such a hateful thing. I mean, the citizens are begging for the National Guard to be sent in. And Pritzker is trying to get people stirred up to attack the National Guard when they get there. So, once again, Trump said it's not a matter of if they're going in. It's a matter of when I choose to send them. So Chicago, buckle up. They're coming.
We know that this is coming. We know that when the weather changes and it gets warm, or when it's a holiday, or when people is not at work and they're not busy, that the people in Chicago and the people across multiple cities across the United States of America is going to be absolutely obsessed with killing each other. How many more 17-year-old boys needs to be murdered? And let's be very clear, right? Because I will be holding Brandon Johnson accountable in this video like I always do, because he's an elected official and he's paid for with taxpayer dollars. And he's fighting the Trump administration from bringing the necessary reinforcements to preserve life. And if Black lives matters, or any lives matters, American lives matters in any community, then that means that you have to do everything to preserve that life. If it really matters to you, it's not about whether or not you juking the stats in crime. It's not about whether or not it's a political thing. You put politics aside, you put everything aside if that is your job to preserve life. Educate, preserve life, public safety, make sure that people have great public transportation, inviting businesses in, creating a business environment instead of raising taxes and property taxes where people are losing their home and they stealing them from Crook County. You know what I'm saying? They call it Crooked County because so many people lose their homes to the city of Chicago that reissues it back onto the market under the guise of getting a cheap home so that they can collect property taxes from it. And this person is just continuously fighting. And of course, we got to hold the parents accountable. I'm going to get to that also. But why would they be fighting the Trump administration from coming into Chicago and stopping crime similarly to how they did over in D.C.? Why has this become a cultural norm to where we fight back against things that's not best for us? And that's a question to you guys in the chat. I would love for you guys to give me that insight because, number one, yes, I do think that the parents are the culprit and the culture is the culprit. And anything that is happening after 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're 17 years old out on the streets. I just did a previous report yesterday how drive-bys right across the street from the Chicago police station got multiple people injured. They say over 8 people has been killed so far, and it's not over. Let's be clear. It's not over. We still got last night. We still got tonight because it's Labor Day weekend as of the recording of this video. And, it's more opportunity for us to put together these stats. And, while the mayor is over there playing the drums at a Chicago fest or something like that.
So another beautiful day again to talk about the Chicago situation. This issue of crimes in Chicago is really an interesting topic. And I think I never did due diligence to actually find the real residents of Chicago and how they feel about this matter. And it doesn't matter if they are from the conservative side or the progressive side. I just want to find the real people who live in Chicago, who give their opinions, who are not influenced by whatever stance they are. What is the situation on the ground? Do they actually need intervention from military troops? Do they need federalization of the police department in order for crimes to be cleaned up from the street? That is the real question to ask ourselves. What are the Chicago people feeling? That is how we're gonna get, look, a good reference of that, not just the whole of America giving their opinion on that matter. Although it really matters, because if, let's say, they become successful to bar military troops from getting into Chicago and doing their business there, then it means that they cannot move into other cities, and which is actually, there is no need of military troops to get into these cities, because you know how military people use a lot of force, and you know, when dealing with civilians, that is not advisable. Apart from that, the incident that has happened over the weekend, look, is it a justification to send troops? You give me your opinion. They are saying crime rate is reducing in Chicago. Is it true? There is a lot of questions to be asked and a lot of answers to be given, but I think this is one of those developing situations that we're going to be following closely. So far, so good. Donald Trump is insisting on this, and I think they are going to move in. You remember when the rumor started of DC and how he was going to send the National Guard to DC and also federalizing the police department, and he ended up doing that in less than a week? I would not be surprised if he does that to Chicago. At first, when I read this news, I thought that there are Democrats lawmakers who were backing up the order by Donald Trump, which I'm still yet to determine, because there were articles writing such topics. I don't know if it were clickbait or was it the truth. I'm yet to confirm that as I'm recording the video, because the news remain a gray area. We can't confirm yet if it's true or not. But Trump moving in, to me, it's 80% confirmed. He can move in anytime. I think the citizens of Chicago now can brace themselves for impact. I don't know if they're gonna resist that, because so far so good. The governor and the mayor are against that, and they're telling the people to stand firm, express themselves, express their opinions, express their distaste about the issue of military troops being brought to their city, which could cause a lot of tension. But I think the real thing is, like, the second last speaker who was in the speech in the video of the last speaker, who said that the issue should be approached from where it germinates or where the roots are. Why are the streets not safe? Why is it that the youth are more involved in street crime than any other cities? Why is it a culture thing, or what is it about the culture that is making the youths become rowdy in the streets and making the area lawless? Those are the type of approaches that they need to look at. This is not only happening in 2025. Crime in Chicago has been there for the longest, and it has been worse over the years. And I think 2025 has reduced. See, rappers having beef, underground rappers, upcoming rappers, real rappers, the music industry, culture, the O blocks, the other blocks. Like, you know, the street movement has been rough over the years, but I think in 2025 that has reduced significantly. And I'm curious, even if Donald Trump sent in troops, does that mean crimes will reduce, or crime will be eradicated completely from the block? Would the military go into blocks like the O block? Would they go in there and flush out criminals? Are they going to involve ICE in order to deport some people who are undocumented in these areas? There is a lot of questions to be asked here, and this is an open topic to discuss, and it's at this point that I leave this forum to you guys. Your opinions really do matter, so don't be shy. Share your opinions down there below. It would be really insightful. If you have contrary opinion to what I've said today, we can do so respectfully in the comment section down there below. We're always open to new ideas. Also, don't forget to go and check the original creators. The usernames to their accounts and TikToks are embedded in the stitch videos as always, so go on to their TikToks, follow, like. For this channel, make sure you smash a huge thumbs up button, consider subscribing, turn on post notifications so that you may not miss my next upload. And with that, guys, let me meet you in the next one. Peace out.